Nick Vadis is the Culinary Director of Compass Group UK and Ireland and Chef Ambassador to the NHS. He also made the list as one of public sector catering's most influential in 2022 and agreed to take time from his busy schedule to talk about some of the issues facing the industry. Hello, Nick, and thank you for your time today.
Hi, David. Thank you.
Right, let's crack on. From your point of view, what do you think will be the biggest challenges facing caterers in 2023?
I would say the biggest challenge at the moment is the labour shortage. It's not just affecting the public sector; it's affecting every area of our industry, not just here, but even abroad. Having just returned back from Luxembourg and talking to some of the businesses over there, it's a global thing. And to me, that's going to be the biggest challenge. And my worry is that, where we're going to find these people. Even in colleges now, we're seeing a decline in the amount of people going into colleges because on the back of COVID over the last 2 years, the hospitality industry prior to that was always seen as a pretty safe haven. There would always be a job. The old adage that everybody needs to eat, so there would always be a job. And I think COVID shows that actually the hospitality industry is quite vulnerable in those occasions. And, people have moved into second careers. My other biggest worry is, some of the salaries that have been thrown around to try and attract people into the industry. Are they sustainable? That's another big worry. And I think the only way you're going to really leverage any scale by attracting people into your business is not just about money, it's about the added value. It's about giving people other opportunities when they work for you. And to me, that would be the greatest differentiator. But yeah, labour shortage is my biggest concern and where we're going to find that labour from.
Sure. Okay. Do you have any ideas about, what could be done to try and ease the situation?
I think, there needs to be a radical advertising program, attraction program to get people into the industry. Forget what went on with COVID. It's still a great industry. I think the industry needs to offer more for chefs coming in. I think there needs to be, what I just said, more added value. It's not just come in and cook and work for us. There needs to be clear pathways for progression. There needs to be clear lines of what qualifications they're going to get. And, a more of a structure around a career path. I think that would be the differentiator.
Okay. Now, they sound great ideas. I just wonder how practical are they? I mean, how are they going to be put into action if you're talking about developing a structure? Because it sounds like it's going to take a bit of time.
I think big organisations, are addressing those problems now. Big contract catering companies such as Compass, who I work for, have been addressing that shortage for some time. We've always had gaps in our business. And I think all the other contract caterers or big organisations have the same issues. By having, I think, career pathways, which I touched on, are really important. People want to work for an employer that's going to invest in them. It's not just, like I said, it's not just about money. And some of those career pathways don't exactly cost a lot to actually implement, and I think a lot of businesses, although we're paying into a levy to the government for training development, can actually tap into that. And a lot of businesses don't utilize that to the full of what they pay in. And I think by looking at the levy and what they pay in and what they can get out of that, which would then be cost neutral. So then you just need the resource to deliver it. But by partnering with, education providers, using the levy could be a way of alleviating some of those problems.
If I could just sidetrack for a moment and ask you just to put your NHS hat on for a minute. Yeah, is this something that's available to trusts as well?
Yeah, they've just implemented a apprenticeship program within the NHS, working very closely with Phil Shelley. That was launched last year. And again, even in the NHS, I know for a fact that there's not as many apprentices on a program that could be. And that's not just about apprentices coming into the business. This is about qualifying people that are already in your business, people that have kind of came in as probably a porter or general assistant, who have then kind of morphed into the kitchen, but don't have any kind of formalized qualification. And to me, that's as equally important to try and give those people a qualification. I touched on about investing in people, and that's a way of investing in the current people you have in your business and giving them more qualifications, which means they can, you know, move on up in their particular field. But yeah, you know, it's making it attractive and advertising the fact that there are apprenticeship schemes out there for you to come. And that starts with colleges. You know, if we touched on the NHS, you know, how often do you go into a college, or you stand in a college and you listen to somebody saying you need to go and work in a hospital or a care home? It's not generally talked about. It's usually all geared towards restaurant and hotel. More so now towards the contract catering market, because that's kind of come of age. And it is, you know, it's good hours, decent wages, and, you know, is now seen as a preferred employer. But very rarely do people talk about hospitals and care homes. I wouldn't say it was the forgotten sector, but it's the sector that needs to be advertised more, flagged more in those environments to drive people into those kitchens.
And what measure do you think, if you just could do one, would best address that particular problem when you're talking about driving students to consider those sort of career options in the NHS?
I think it's you know, people from the NHS or people from big trust should go into colleges and talk about a career within the NHS. You know, you can have a full career, and a lot of the chefs that I've met while working in the NHS for the last 2 years, you know, I've had great careers and are having a great career with the NHS. You know, first thing we do on a chef's academy is get them to introduce themselves and just say how long they've worked in the NHS. And on many occasions, some of these people that are attending the chef's academy have worked upwardly of 15, 20 years for the NHS. So clearly, once you're in, there's something that they like. You know, they're staying the course. They're not flitting from job to job. So it's getting them into the door. And I think we, you know, by raising the profile of the NHS chef, and I think one of the things that we've delivered the last 2 years is the NHS Chef of the Year. With social media, with that platform, it's raising the profile of the NHS chef, and that can only benefit in the long term. But, you know, small steps like that will add value later on, but it's a slow burn. But if we can do more of that, and, you know, more chefs academies, more investment in training, more social media with the Chef of the Year and initiatives like that, can only benefit the NHS. Okay,
thank you. And just on a sort of point about collaboration and sort of sharing ideas within the public sector, how important do you think that is?
I think it's really important to share ideas. I think, you know, everybody benefits from for sharing knowledge and sharing ideas. You know, I'm not precious at all about anything I deliver at the Chef's Academy. You know, it's food, it's about being creative in that space. And, you know, they welcome you with open arms. Even when I go into trust, I get quite nervous because I don't know them, they don't know me. But, you know, by the end of the day, we're all big friends, and they've all, you know, enjoyed what they're doing. Only this morning I had an email from a Milton Keynes trust just saying how pleased they were to be part of the Chef's Academy, and they can't wait for more, to come on more of these one-day opportunities. And sadly, they're only one-day opportunities, but, you know, we've had people come back 2 or 3 times now, and that's great because the trust sees the value, gives them the opportunity, and spares them the time to come on these, because it's just a drain on resource if they're away for a day. But the added value when they go back is it's worth it. But yeah, sharing ideas, sharing recipes, and, you know, just sharing what I do with the business, but sharing knowledge across hospitals. Some of these chefs probably never met the chef 3 miles down the road that works in a different hospital. But by bringing them together, they then become firm friends. They share ideas. They get on WhatsApp groups. They get on Facebook groups, and that is powerful.
That's great. And lastly, Nick, I mean, there's an awful lot of doom and gloom around. Do you see any cause for optimism in 2023?
No, I'm kind of always been a glass half full kind of person. So Yeah, I think we've had some pretty bad times, and I think you've got to be optimistic. It's a resilient sector. It is a resilient sector, irrespective of what's gone on. And I'm a great believer. There's some great people out there doing some brilliant stuff, and I just think, yeah, it's going to get better. But everything we can do to raise the profile of that area of the industry benefits that part of the business. So I'm optimistic. It's going to get better. We will attract more people, and it will have a bright future.
Well, on that note, thank you very much, Nick Vadis.
Thank you, David.